Super Carter here for G66. Overall, the question I get most frequently about the Axe-Fx is, how do I run the Axe-Fx simultaneously with a direct PA type full range system and a traditional guitar cabinet and guitar amplifier setup? Despite how often I get this question, the explanation is actually one of the easiest things to do in the Axe-Fx, and I'm going to show you how to set it up really quickly. Behind me I have two separate speaker setups, each in stereo with two speakers, and these are going to be standing in for a PA system live where you have a guitar cabinet on stage. To my left, your right, I've got two Matrix Q12As, which are full range speakers. These are great for using the Axe-Fx's cabinet simulations, and this side of the rig is kind of demonstrating what you'd be doing if you were sending the Axe-Fx's signal direct to front of house in a PA, or maybe direct to your in-ear monitors, while you had this side of the rig, your traditional guitar cabinet on stage without the speaker simulations playing through them. Here I have two Matrix guitar cabinets powered by a Matrix GT1000FX solid state power amp. A lot of you guys out there probably don't have a separate power amp, whether it's solid state or tube, and you're actually going to be using your guitar amplifier itself to power the cab on stage. In this case, you just send the Axe-Fx directly into the effects return of your amp. To set up this kind of rig, you're going to be using both outputs 1 and 2 on the Axe-Fx. You want to make sure that you're sending your direct signal with your cabinet simulations and everything else through output 1 to the PA or your full range speakers, and you're sending your separate signal without cabinet simulation on it to output 2, which is going to your guitar cabinet rig. Also, for this type of rig to work, in the Axe-Fx's input-output screen under audio, you want to make sure that output 2 echo is set to none. And finally, since we are using both outputs of the Axe-Fx here for this rig, we're going to be adjusting levels for output 1 and 2 independently using the level knobs on the front panel of the unit. For output 1, I usually find that you never go past 12 o'clock if you're going into a PA. A lot of boards require a little less hot of a signal when you're going into them, and you'll find that sound guides generally don't want you to go beyond 12 o'clock on the knob. For output 2, since you're going into your power amp, to get the best signal to noise ratio and response from your power amp, you're going to want to actually maximize the volume on output 2 and then use the level of your power amp or your guitar amplifier's master volume if you're going into the effects return to actually set the level of the guitar coming out of the cabinet. So we have these two distinct sides of the rigs. Let's check out in Axe Edit just how easy it is to set up your patch to take advantage of both at the same time.
Okay, so here we are in the Axe editor, and as you can see, I've pulled up the default factory preset number 100, Studio Clean, which you heard at its factory default settings in the introduction when I was playing. So as you can see, we have a full signal chain that runs from the input all the way to the output, going through everything, and you're going to be hearing this full chain out of output 1. The issue there is that you're going to be hearing this cabinet signal through output 1, and you don't want it coming out of output 2 because you don't want to send a modeled cabinet, which in this case is these IRs here, through an actual cabinet on stage. Now the reason that I said that this type of rig is one of the easiest tricks in the Axe-Fx is that all you need to do to send a signal out to output 2 is to simply put an effects loop block in your preset. So what I'm going to do is connect the amplifier to the effects loop, and we have now effectively bypassed everything that comes after the amp. So the signal is going to come into the input, it's going to go through the compressor, through the amplifier, and then through this chain to output 1, and through this chain to output 2. Now the issue there is that you're going to get a very dry signal because everything that comes after the cabinet is not included on output 2 through this effects loop. So what we need to do is just do a little bit of rearranging. All I'm going to do is move this delay over to here, move the reverb over to here, and then move this cabinet to be the last thing in the signal chain. So now we can just move the effects loop all the way to the right here, and this shunt automatically deletes, and now we just run the effects into the effects loop itself. Now what you're going to have is the signal running through everything, the compressor, the amp, the GEQ, the pitch block, the delay, the reverb, and then going out through the cabinet simulation IR to output 1 through your full range system, which in many cases is the PA, and then out of output 2 you're going to have all of this minus the cabinet. With the 4-row grid, you can really explore a lot of different options as to how you want to route your effects. You could even, for example, have these different effects coming out through output 1, and then before you hit the effects loop, go ahead and put a different effect coming out of output 2. So say you want this delay, which is a 500 millisecond digital stereo coming out of the PA, but on stage in your cab, you want something a little different. let's go ahead and pick a dual delay with a much longer kind of setting. Let's say 800 on one side and 400 on the other. Maybe you want to hear a much more ambient sound on stage than you want in the house. You want to give your house guy a little bit of a drier signal, but you want to feel an expansive soundscape live in the playing environment. So let's briefly talk about what you might want to do if the power amp that you're using to power your standard guitar cabinets is not a solid state flat power amp and is instead a tube power amp. In addition to adding the effects loop block, we're going to want to copy the amp block. So we're going to edit copy block, edit paste block, and then we're going to run the shunts through the amplifier to the effects loop as we would with the above line. But now what we need to do is go into the dynamics page and turn the supply sag right here all the way down. So you're going to see it says PA off or power amp off. And what that's doing is defeating the Axe-Fx's power amp simulations, because that kind of response is going to be coming from the tube power amp that you're using to power your cabs. If you want the effects coming out of your cabinet as well, you'll also need to copy those down onto the line before the effects loop. That's how easy it is to get two separate rigs going out of the Axe-Fx. One, a direct, full range, flat response speaker system like PA, or maybe your in-ear monitoring system, and the other, a physical, old school, tried and true guitar cabinet with your tone, maybe on stage. Until next time, take care.